Hey, I just want to remind you not to make things harder than it has to be. A lot of times in business, we look for a very complicated answer to, in our mind, what is a complicated problem, when really it's not that complicated. More often than not, there is a simple answer to a simple problem you're facing. So, for example, I've mentioned before an individual who she was having a tough time keeping her employees. In fact, she was having a lot of turnover in her business. And so she asked, what's like the latest on leadership? What are some books I can look into? What are some things that are sort of like the latest concepts, like the newest theories on leadership and management? This isn't a bad question. It's not bad to want to grow in your leadership capacity. But I found myself in talking with her, as I was pushing on her and challenging her, I was mentioning some very simple concepts like valuing your employees, caring about your employees, caring about their individual wants and desires within your business. And she was kind of like, well, I got all that. I understand all that. I'm looking for what's the newest thing. And it reminds me of someone else who I was talking with a guy who his business was failing. And he said, I'm really looking for a great book that can give me some perspective. And so I said, you got to check out EMyth Revisited. It's a really incredible book that focuses on some of the missteps that business owners take in business, and it'll help refocus you on what you should be doing. And so he said, I read that book. I hated that book. And I thought, well, that's really surprising because EMyth Revisited is one of I don't think I'm biased to say this, it's accepted as one of the best books for business owners out there. And so I said, well, why did you not like the book? And he said, well, I didn't feel like it really applied to me. And I said, okay, it's a book about a failing business. Your business is failing. What part of it did you think did not apply? And I have found that more often than not, we make things harder than it has to be. I don't know if it's because the answer is just too simple. Mentioning the woman whose employees were quitting, I said, have you ever thought maybe you just aren't a good boss? Well, it can't be that. It couldn't be that. It couldn't be me. It has to be something else. It has to be a concept that I don't understand yet. Or I love to tell the story of a guy who was selling, he couldn't find any customers for his business and he was trying to figure it out. He was running all these ad funnels. He was developing all these one-pagers, these landing pages that were trying to get people to buy from him. He was investing all of this money to try to find new customers. And I said, well, what are you selling? And he said, I'm selling basically bedazzled leather wristbands. So it was these leather wristbands with like rhinestones and gems on them, which I thought was so interesting. I don't know how he got into this, but I said, well, have you ever thought about people just don't want that? Or have you ever thought about the fact that maybe who you're selling to is such a small market that that's where your problem is? Have you thought about venturing out into a different type of product? And I found that often when we're faced with these simple answers, rather than face those things firsthand, we make things harder than it has to be. It's painful to know I'm not a good boss. And so there must be another answer. It's painful to know that what I love in terms of my product isn't loved and adored by my prospective customers. These things are painful to me. And so rather than face those things firsthand, I look for other answers and I look for other ways to try to grow my business instead of just simply facing the truth. Often there is a very simple answer to the problem you're facing in your business, but you have to be willing to actually swallow the truth and take that truth and actually do something with it. What I have found, though, is the quicker you're able to accept that truth and to remember the simple concepts that are true about business, the faster you will actually grow and impact more people. So don't make it harder than it has to be. Stay focused on these simple truths in your business.